taken the bridge and the second hall. We have barred the gates, but cannot hold them for long. The ground shakes. Drums, drums in the deep. You cannot get out. Your shadow moves in the dark. You cannot get out. They are coming. Fool of a took. Throw yourself in next time and rid us of your stupidity.
I apologize for taking too long because I know that for some of you viewers were a little bit excited for me having to do my review based off of one of my most favorite trilogies of all time, The Lord of the Rings. And the reason why is because since it was the ending of the year, I had a very little bit amount of time to having to watch as many movies as I can possible to rate my top 10 lists, which are going to be popping up here right after this video. But I still have a lot of work to do when it comes to that, so I appreciate you guys' patience and to continue being patient with me. But also I've been sick as well, so now that I'm more fully capable of having to speak my mind, talk about these great movies, I thank you all for taking the time of your day to watching this video. It does take a lot of time, it does take a lot of hard work to put together, so I appreciate everyone who views my videos and has a great, wonderful, exciting, entertaining time with my review videos. So let's go ahead and get started here, you guys, with the first review that I'd like to talk to you all about when it comes to this great epic trilogy of The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Okay, and so The Fellowship of the Ring was released back in December 19th, 2001. And this movie is directed by Peter Jackson, who directed all 3 films. And these movies are based off of the books written by J.R.R. Tolkien back in the 1940s. And they are very popular books. They've been known for many, many decades. They are so wonderful. They're really amazing, fantastic. I remember when these movies were first released, I had no acknowledgement towards what the story was about, who these characters were. I was walking in blinded into this movie, not knowing what to expect. I remember I watched a preview for it, but nonetheless still did not have any idea what this movie was all about. And having to see great and wonderful actors portray these type of characters, like Elijah Wood playing Frodo, and then we have Ian McKellen playing Gandalf, and then we have the other hobbits, Merry and Pippin, played by Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd, along with Samwise Gamgee, played by Sean Astin. The story is called The Fellowship of the Ring because we are given these 9 members of the group who are on this epic quest to destroy this one ring that is created by an evil dark lord named Sauron, who is being revived back to life because the One Ring is a part of him, and if that ring is not destroyed, darkness will reign again all over the world. So since I introduced already the 4 hobbits and the 1 wizard, we are also given another introduction to another member of this fellowship, Aragorn, who is also aka Strider, who is the rightful king of Gondor, played by Viggo Mortensen. And then we also get Legolas, who is played by Orlando Bloom, a very young Orlando Bloom back in the day. And then we get John Rhys-Davies, who plays the only dwarf in this series, Gimli. And that's pretty much the whole entire Fellowship. I mean, I love these characters. Great actors to portray them. I think they did a wonderful, fantastic job. Quite normally, when it comes to movies doing character developments, sometimes it does take quite a while, and it gets pretty boring. But when it comes to a movie such as this, I find it to be very, very interesting and very, very entertaining. I did not feel anywhere outside of the film. It brought me in 100%. They have very, very great movie sets that are put in. They created the place Hobbiton, which is the Shire, which is the home to the hobbits. Then we get Weathertop, and then we get Bree, then we get Rivendell, which is introduced to many elven characters. One in particular, which is Elrond, who is played by Hugo Weaving. If you guys don't know who Hugo Weaving is, he is Agent Smith from the Matrix movies, V from Vendetta, Red Skull from the Captain America movies, and also we get the love interest to Aragorn's character, played by Liv Tyler, who plays the character Arwen. She has a very minor part when it comes to all these movies. I really do wish that she had more screen time. But I feel that they know what they were doing in order to keep the films true to the books, to keep it right on. Even though that I enjoy these movies so well, to crave even more for the films. Even though I know that there are extended versions to these films, I just wish that there was more to the theatrical versions. And like I said, many great sightings. I love, my favorite part of the movie is when they are in this dark mountain called Moria, and it's an abandoned dwarven type of place, and we get this great staircase sequence. Is my favorite part of the film. So amazing. They fight against all these goblins and orcs, and then Gandalf gets killed off by having to go against this giant Balrog creature by breaking the bridge and falling into the abyss. So amazing, so wonderful, so epic. And then we get another sequence called Lorien. We're introduced to the great and beautiful Cate Blanchett, who plays this character named Galadriel. And this fellowship is in a sequence now to where they are about to be broken apart, because ever since they lost Gandalf, and then this ring is unknowingly forcing every single one of the members of the fellowship to be broken up. And Frodo is put into this position whether or not he's going to be capable to continue on the journey with the fellowship or on his own. Like I said, again, I'm sick, so I'm trying to keep it all together here. And it's just so interesting at the ending of the film on how much I wasn't really knowing what this movie was all about. That I remember that I had this conversation with my brother when we went to go watch this together, that we didn't understand the ending. I mean, it was to be continued. You know, you had these characters there, you had these characters here, and all of a sudden it was over with. The journey wasn't completed, and we're like, well, what happens next? Is there going to be another movie? Thus foremost, we didn't know it was a trilogy. We didn't even know it was based on a book. We didn't even know what this movie was all about. So it was funny having to know that this movie brought a lot of surprises to us when it was first released. So it was a great movie. I really do very much love this film. Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring on Rotten Tomatoes was given a 91%. And for me, I love the movie enough to giving it a 95%. It's so wonderful, so epic. I had a great time with this film. If you guys have any questions, comments, complaints, or concerns, please, by all means, leave a comment in the section on the bottom. Let's have an awesome conversation regarding towards this really wonderful set of films that the director Peter Jackson has developed for us almost 20 years ago. So that's my review for The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Now let's go ahead and jump on to the continuation of the story that was released a year later, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Okay, so The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers was released in December 18th, 2002. Not only was I not aware of what the Fellowship of the Ring was all about, but I was very excited and anticipated to going to watch The Two Towers. These set of movies really pulled me in. I'm a huge fan. I love it so much. The same cast from the first film, all of them returned. When these movies were made, they were filmed back to back, and they believe they did it back in 1999. So it was a very, very busy time for all of them. But within the film, not only do we get the returning cast from the first film, we are also introduced to a new set of new characters from the book developed into this film. And for example, we've got King Theoden from the Kingdom of Edoras, who's played by Bernard Hill, along with his niece Éowyn, played by Miranda Otto, and his nephew, who is the brother to Éowyn, Éomer, which is played by Carl Urban. And then we get the sizzling type of character played by Brad Dourif himself, playing the character of Wormtongue. And then we also get a very interesting character, one that we've never really seen on the big screen before, voiced by none other than Gimli, the character Gimli, played by John Rhys Davies, voicing the character of Treebeard, which I found that character to be very interesting and very, very, very magnificent character. And then we also get Faramir, who is played by David Wenham. Even though I didn't know who David Wenham is, I greatly do know who he is now every time when I notice him within all the films that he's in. So he's a character that I really grow attached to a lot, because he's a character who is seeking the approval and the favoritism of his father, because he gives all that to his older brother, who is Boromir, played by Sean Astin, who was killed off in the first film. And I love how the character Gandalf returns as the same character, but in a completely different appearance. Because in the first film, he was Gandalf the Grey, which is, gray hair, gray beard, gray clothing. And now in this film, he returns as Gandalf the White, which is white hair, white beard, white clothing. And people were to get him confused of being Saruman, but instead of being the reincarnation of Gandalf himself. So, like I said, I'm sick here, so bear with me, please. And even though that the character Gollum, aka Smeagol, was introduced within the first film, he makes his dramatic appearance into this film, being played by Andy Serkis, which is a wonderful actor. I really do admire his performances within all of his films, like within 2005's King Kong, or playing Caesar in the Planet of the Apes movies, or even being Claw from the Black Panther movie. He's such a wonderful actor. I really do admire and favor his work into doing motion capture performances. And I love the setting for Edoras, which is based on a hilltop over in New Zealand, which is a very beautiful setting. I've never been there before, but I'm very, very wanting to one of these days to go out there and see this beautiful sightings that we get to see on the big screen and on our television screens today. So, and then we also get another wonderful setting, which gives us this great epic battle at Helm's Deep, which is the good guys versus the bad guys, and these orcs are from this character that we are introduced to within the first film, Saruman, who is played by Christopher Lee. Love Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee is a great, great actor, and having to play a villainous role is one of his very finest. And it's fun. It's a very interesting story. I mean, there's some characters within the film that I wish that had more story developments, that had more screen time. It does not take me out of the film. I have a lot of fun with it. Besides the fact, The Two Towers is actually my favorite Lord of the Rings film, and I have a lot of fun with it because it's a continuation of the story, and it ends to be concluded with more to the story in another film. So I find it to be a very, very wonderful, beautiful film, and I have a lot of fun with it. Composer Howard Shore does the music to these movies, and he does it beautifully well. If you do not have the time to watch these great movies, you just go right ahead and listen to the music that he composes. It's so beautiful. It just tells them the story of the movies itself throughout the music. It's so wonderful, so amazing. Rotten Tomatoes gave this movie a 95%, but for me, since I loved it a lot, I gave it a 98%. 98. Wow, I never give a set of movies within the same saga, a very high percentage. That just comes to show that these movies are very, very amazing. They're so awesome. I encourage for all the viewers that are watching this review right now, if you have not gone to watch any of these films, I encourage you to go and watch these movies. You are missing out. It's a great epic trilogy. I love Star Wars, but I find that Lord of the Rings is one of the many greatest trilogies of all time. Excuse me. I know that these movies won a lot of Academy Awards, a lot of Oscars, especially when it comes to the third film. I know the third film won, like, I think it was 10 Oscars, including Best Movie. So I thought it was just so wonderful, so amazing. But like I said, 98% that I give for The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. So that's my review for The Two Towers. Now let's go ahead and jump onto the epic finale of this great and wonderful trilogy that I love and admire so much. The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. I apologize. Like I said, I'm trying to feel better here, and let me say that again. The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. Alright, so The Return of the King was released back in December 17th, 2003. And wow, oh wow, even though that I was so excited to go and watch The Two Towers, I was even more excited and more anticipated to watch this really great finale to a wonderful trilogy. It is just so amazing, having to see the returning cast, to see their continuation and their finales, to see and how everything concludes. Even though not most people are favorable towards a love triangle here, but I really find that the love triangle between Arwen, Eowyn, and Aragorn work out in this movie. It's kind of like Twilight a little bit, but not boring, not at all weird or anything like that. I mean, it's very interesting. It's very wonderful. Even though it doesn't really have that much of a significant importance to the story, I find it to be very, very interesting to watch. And you still get these characters like Hugo Weaving's character Elrond, and then Liv Tyler's Arwen, and Cate Blanchett's Galadriel. All of them have very minor positions within these films. I really do wish that they would have gotten more screen time. I really do wish we could have seen more of their characters being developed within each of these films. But I can understand that that the story is tied on to the fate of the ring, and that's what we are facing towards. In which cases it does tie into each and every single one of these characters throughout all three of these films. But I think that they tried to focus more of the story based on to the mainer characters. I think that the first two films are a maximum of 3 hours exactly, and the third film is a little bit more, 3 hours, and it has 30 more minutes extra into the film. And I've seen the extended versions, and yeah, they're extremely long, but they are also very entertaining. But I very much favor the theatrical versions a lot more better. They're just so wonderful, and just having to see this epic conclusion where you get these epic battles in Minas Tirith, and then you get it in Pelennor Fields, and then you get it in Mordor. I mean, it's just so wonderful, so epic, and I love on how you get to see the moment that we've all been waiting for, ever since we saw the beginning of the first film, reaching its way all the way through from the first one to the second one and then to the third one, where you finally see Frodo just standing there holding that ring, and all he has to do is just let that damn thing go. And it's very hard. I mean, it seems so easy to do. And I remember I was sitting in a theater when this was occurring, and all I wanted to do was just stand up from my seat and just shout out, "Let the damn thing go!" And it was just so funny, so amazing. So it was, wow. But it was a great scene. I love it. That sequence was so fascinating. I mean, I love the speech that what Aragorn gives to the army. I love it how they charge into battle. I mean, wow, it was so amazing. I love and how everybody just climax against each other, and it's it's wonderful. I mean, Peter Jackson did a masterpiece with all three of these films. They are my favorites. I favor them so much. They are so wonderful. And even though, you know, and most films, even after when the story is over with, most movies, they just cut it to credits and that's it. But this one, it actually goes beyond. We get the aftermath of what happens when everything is already over. You know, all these characters are in a position of wondering, okay, we went through all this stuff, but what do we do now? What do we do with our lives? You know, yes, we move forward, but how can you move forward after everything we've been through? And I guess that's kind of a little bit of a reflection towards the audience. This is, you know, real life issues. You know, it's a great experience. I love the ending. It really did bring me to tears. I love all these characters. The characters, all of them, are so fascinating. They're so amazing. I enjoy every single one of them, and having to see each and every single one of them, you know, fade away, you know, moving on, doing their own thing, you know, one by one, and then, you know, and then Frodo being the one who wanders off into the sunset. It's a beautiful piece, a beautiful masterpiece. And I remember that I read the books. I read the books while these movies were being released, and I remember at the ending of The Return of the King is exactly in how the movie ends, with, you know, Samwise Gamgee, you know, returning to his family and saying the line, "I'm back," and closes his door, and very beautifully well set, and fades to black, and the end. And I love the ending song played by Annie Lennox, who plays the song Into the West. It's a great melody. It's great. It's so fascinating, so beautiful. I admire everything that they did. A lot of hard work into making these three films. So very wonderfully well set. I don't think that there's any new characters introduced into this film, you know, played by actors, other than John Noble playing Denethor, who is the father to both Faramir and Boromir. And I think we get Shelob, which is the spider, this gigantic spider who goes after Frodo and Samwise, pops up into the spotlight. That sequence was actually supposed to be in the Two Towers book, but it was taken out so that we could get and put into Return of the King to get more of a little bit of an expansion of the relationship and the chemistry between the brotherlyhood of Frodo and Sam. So I found that as a very good idea to do. You know, they didn't take it out. They didn't change anything. They just you know, moved it a little bit. So which I found it to be so wonderful, so amazing. And I know that there's the Witch King of Angmar, who is one of the Nazgul, is, I guess, one of the leaders, I guess. But very fascinating character, very evil, very dark. This movie is very dark, but also very epic and amazing, and just so, wow. Rotten Tomatoes gave this movie a 93%. 93. Are you kidding me? No. I give this movie a 100%. 100%. Even though I said that the Two Towers is my favorite amongst the three, I find that The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King is a beautiful, epic masterpiece that is given the right to be a 100% rating. So that's my rating. That's my review for The Return of the King. What do you guys think? You can always leave a comment in the section in the bottom, and we can have an awesome conversation regarding towards this movie or any of the movies that you would like to talk about in general. So, I'm Awesome Joe. Thank you guys so much for taking in the time of your day of having to watch my videos. You guys are such a huge inspiration to me for having to do my personal hobby. I love to talk about movies, but more importantly, I love to talk about them with you. And don't forget, you can always find me on both Facebook and on YouTube at Awesome Joe. And like I said before, and I'll say it again, if you guys have any questions, comments, complaints, or concerns, just leave it in the comment section. Let's have an awesome conversation about these great and wonderful films. So, I'm Awesome Joe, and as always, stay awesome. Thanks guys so much, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.